completely run out of room in the shop to store cars because we have a car problem. And so not all of these are actually race cars. Some of these are just vehicles that are being stored here because our employees also have car problems and they don't have enough room to keep their cars at home. So this Exo set is actually Ben's and Kevin's, our lead engineer. I'm really hoping they'll finish it at some point so I can get behind the wheel of it. Looks like a lot of fun. This is basically a Miata drivetrain stuffed into a tube chassis. How much faster are these than a Miata around a track?
Significantly faster as long as it's not a high-speed track because this weighs approximately 1,000 pounds less than a Miata and the chassis is much, much, much stiffer. So you get the same power and you get a lot better handling, and these little things are fast.
I've had the pleasure of tuning a few of them in turbocharged and supercharged applications. I've never actually gotten behind the wheel of one though.
Very soon. You may recognize this car if you go back with us a long time. Unfortunately, the last time we did use this car would be from the thing that you may recognize it from, and that is when Grassroots Motorsports magazine had us do fuel testing. And this is the approximately 170 horsepower naturally aspirated stock engine methanol Miata. This is originally a 1990 Miata, but it has a 2001 style VVT engine in it, basically stock engine. And we did pump gas, race gas, ethanol, methanol, made about 170 horsepower on methanol, about 150 horsepower on
Didn't
E85.
you basically run out of injector doing the methanol?
We were completely out of injector. It has 75-pound injectors in it.
And that wasn't enough on methanol for?
We were 90 some odd % duty on the methanol. Yeah.
Methanol, so power hungry, so fuel hungry.
That car was a lot of fun. Steve can tell you more about this one though.
So this is, I have a soft spot for Fords, especially old Fords. You'll see in a minute, I actually have a 51 Studebaker as well, if anyone's interested in the 51 Studebaker. When I found this, I fell in love with it. This is going to be eventually a drive back and forth to the office car. And I'm going to kind of leave it pretty retro, but this is my jam right here when it comes to hot rods.
Steve, what engine's going in it?
I'm hoping to stuff a inline 6 Barra engine into it. Basically, you have to have them shipped over from Australia. That's the goal. Inline 6 Barra motor, fairly decent sized turbo, 5 or 6 speed manual transmission. If I want to drive it in the next 2 years, I'll just make it rear-wheel drive. If I want to make it a 10-year project, I'll try to do some all-wheel drive nonsense that everyone's already trying to talk me out of. So, can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Okay. This is a 1979 Nissan Datsun 280ZX. Don't mind the very retro champagne color on the car. I actually kind of like the champagne. Probably going to end up being, just everything painted white. The reason why we picked this car is because we're going to be doing Champ Car racing. And we found this is a very, very clean example. This car basically had 0 rust in it. This was a car that we found somebody pulled out of their garage, and it had a bad water pump. And so they were, for the price, they were basically giving it away. We actually got it running right before we stripped it. It took us like 5 minutes to get the thing running. We stripped it to go for cage. Champ Car is an endurance racing series, so the goal here is we're going to take this, get it all set up. There's a point system involved in Champ Car, so we're going to K-swap this to a K24, get it ready, put some aero on it, definitely upgrade the brakes because, I want the thing to stop, and then see how competitive we can be. Probably not very competitive because I learned how to road course race this year. Ben, you want to tell everybody about your car?
Sure. This is a 2001 Miata that when I got it about 10, 15 years ago, it was a really nice looking car. It only had 20,000 some odd miles on it. And ever since then, it has only been driven on track. And it has been a learning car for numerous drivers new to road racing or new to HPDE, which is kind of why it looks like this today. A lot of times you put a brand new driver in a car and it might kiss a wall or two, or might kiss two walls at the same time, same incident, as it did just about 6 or 8 weeks ago. But this is still a phenomenal driving car. But this car we have actually used for a lot of our development work, because despite the cosmetics, it's an incredibly solid drivetrain. So all of our MSPNP, or all of our MS3 Pro plug-and-play ECUs for the 2001 to 2005 Miata were developed on this car because it had a perfect stock wiring harness, and then as well as our MS3 Pro Ultimate ECU and our MS3 Pro Evo ECU and our MS3 Pro Mini. This was the test mule for all of those ECUs. It has somewhere around 20,000 track miles on it now, with those ECUs being used in a development fashion. So the car has approximately 40,000 miles on it now only, but half of them are on track as dev mules. And this is the car that goes to the track. It'll run 6, 8, maybe 9 hours, pretty much nonstop except for refueling. Someone goes out, someone comes in, and we make sure that that ECU will hold up to many hours of real world track and race abuse.
This car is also outfitted with, I think this was the original test mule for the Max
This
Spark
was the
kit
original
for the
test
Miata?
mule for the Max Spark IGN 1A coil conversion for the Miatas.
You guys are in for a treat. All the fenders are actually bolted on for this video. Normally they're just zip tied in place because they get replaced. It is used as a learning car, you know. It has met the wall a few times. As a matter of fact, if you look, you can see where we kind of undamaged it a few times. You know, things happen. It's a very colorful car because it's, you know, multiple colors.
A lot of smiles in this car though.
Yep.
So I know I could get a new one. I know I could get one that looked the part. This car has a lot of memories in it. So there's some sentimental value in this kind of old beat up looking thing.
And it's kind of nice to have race cars that aren't pretty, right? I mean, everyone wants a pretty race car, but it's really nice to, not that it doesn't look bad, not that it looks bad, but it's nice to take it on track and not have to worry if something goes wrong.
Yeah, you don't have to cry if this car meets its demise, unlike some of the other cars.
Oh, we got a few things going on in here. This car was kind of gifted to the staff here when we took over. This one, Scott Kaiser, our business partner, he said, well, you guys need to learn how to drift so you can go drifting with me. So he brought this up here. So we're going to finish putting it together and get it ready. And this car is already kind of beaten up. So if we take it drifting and, you know, we get it too close to the wall, no one's going to be upset about it. This one is turbocharged. It needs a new gas tank and whatnot. We'll eventually cover what's going on with this one here shortly. This I purchased to do EFI conversion on and turn into a street rod. I was thinking about doing drag week with it, but when I really started getting down to it and looking the car over, it's in such good shape, and there's so few of these cars left. I couldn't bring myself to cut it apart and do what I wanted to do with it. So I think I'm going to sell this one to somebody who actually wants to restore a classic. I'm just going to ruin it. Don't mind the trailer. So this car, this is another one of Scott's cars. He loves drifting. He's got a few of these. His green car, that's personally my favorite. That's a 1.5 JZ turbo car. It made about
500.
500 horsepower and a little bit more than that in torque when we tuned it here on the dyno. He likes taking the green car out, but it eats tires fast when he takes it drifting. This one he can drift an entire evening on basically 2 sets of tires. This car came in, and at the end of last year, we were trying to make an event put on at Lanier, and it was called Cosmic Drift. This car came in to us on a Thursday. Thursday evening it showed up. We stripped the factory computer. This is an LS swapped vehicle, and it was running on a factory ECU and a factory harness. We stripped all of that out Thursday evening. Friday morning we installed the entire MS3 Pro Evo, our LS drop-on harness, our Max Spark kit, and we put it on the dyno. He had to have the car staged for the event Friday evening. We got 1 hour of tune time on the dyno with this car. We hammered through it, and it performed flawlessly for the event. Actually, I think we've made like 2 or 3 tweaks to the tune since then, and it's just been flawless with an hour of tune time. It's been fantastic.
This is one of our wiring harnesses, a couple of our wiring harnesses in this car. One is the 24X drop-on harness for the MS3 Pro Evo that's currently running this engine. And then the harness that's easier to see, that's more on top, is the Max Spark IGN1A ignition harness, which is what we saw earlier in the production room. But you can see how nice the harness is. All the joints are real clean, the connectors, everything's labeled nicely. We use that Tech Flex loom. It's not a cheap corrugated loom, it's proper Tech Flex because it's fire retardant. And then everything is just done to a little bit higher standard than what you typically see, because we want to have that higher end product. We would rather spend a little bit more time and energy and money here on our end producing a nice product and maybe making a little bit less so that you have a tremendously good product, not the cheap cookie cutter with the cheap corrugated loom that, catches on fire, that kind of stuff. We want to do it right.
So this is a 5-liter Coyote engine. This is a Gen 2. This Gen 2 engine was brought into us so we could build a drop-on harness that we should have being released here pretty shortly. This engine, they did not want back after they dropped off, so we are actually going to stuff it into this Willys Jeepster. So this is Kurt's custom project. He's his goal is to actually, get it rain tight again, and then basically clear coat the patina. We're gonna do Coyote. We're gonna do a frame swap. Probably an automatic transmission because he's going to use this as a tow rig. And if I get my way, it'll also get a Whipple. He may not go for that. All right. So this is Rattle Can. This is a years-long project. This is my dad's race car. My dad's old school. He's always done everything with a carburetor. So the last time this was out, it had a carburetor and nitrous and a 331 cubic inch motor. I had just spent 3 weekends putting in one of our digital dashes into the car and wiring everything. Basically, I wanted to put sensors on it, data log everything so I could help him go faster with what he had. Immediately broke the crank into 4 pieces the very next day when we took it out to the track. We got one test hit, and on that test hit, we broke the motor. So it windowed the block. It was bad. There was almost nothing was savable. We were able to save the cylinder heads after we did work to them. That's pretty much it. So we decided I talked him into going fuel injection. So now this is a 393 cubic inch stroker. Started out as a 351 base. This is not an expensive build. This is using a 302 piston and a stock 351 length rod, not a stock rod, a stock length rod, and a stroker crank to get to 396 cubic inches with a 60 overbore. We do not expect this motor to live for a long time, but we're going to have a good time while it's alive. So we have an 88 millimeter VS Racing turbo that we picked up off of a Facebook Marketplace deal. I'm basically going to force feed this thing air until it gives up. We'll see what happens. If it goes, 10 passes, great. It goes 100, even better. If it goes 1, well, then it's getting a big block in a second one of these turbos. My goal is to actually get this car wired and running so that we can take it with us to Foxtoberfest this year. And the goal is to get this thing ready to sit in our booth with our products in it. And that doesn't give me a whole lot of time to wire a car and get it running. So we'll see how much progress I'm able to make in the next month or so.
Steve, what ECU are you going to put into this?
So I'm actually debating on that. We do have a couple of ECUs in prototype that I may use one of them in this, or I may play it safe and just put an Evo in it and kind of be done. But I'd really like to put and see how it does.
You can add a beep when he says that, by the way.
Yeah, just kind of.
I'd like to put a beep in it.
Yeah, bleep it out. But I'm gonna use it for product testing and kind of see what happens. This is a purpose-built drag car. This does nothing but go fast in a straight line. I actually took it down the road and back in my neighborhood when it was carbureted, and this thing is absolutely terrifying to drive in any fashion other than a straight line. So it has inadequate brakes. It's going to need a parachute before we take it to the track again. The track we usually run at's Bradenton Motorsports Park, but since I've moved up here, there's not a whole lot of drag strips left around up here in Georgia. So no. I'll probably just travel down to Florida and go racing with my dad every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, it should be fun. He put a funny car cage in it. We still have to get it certified. We're not super worried about that for the event. And see what kind of damage we can do. I'm excited about this one. I'm not sure. I might want to let Curtis talk about this project. I think he's waffling on this one. I don't think he exactly knows what he wants to do with it.
He's got a lot on his plate too.
So when I go to wire this, the plan is to kind of do things real clean. I'm going to use bulkhead fittings behind the motor so that if he's got to pull it apart in a hurry, he can just undo, twist lock bulkhead connector, pull it off, and the whole engine harness comes off in one piece. In drag racing, things break a lot, more often than you'd think. So nothing on the valve covers, minimal stuff attached to the intake manifold if he's got to pull it apart for some reason. For whatever reason, the motors we build like to break rocker arms, so we'll see if we can keep this one together. We usually use very, very aggressive cams. And it's going to get an engine blanket. I don't have that put on yet. Engine blanket in drag racing is used because you're pushing these motors to their absolute limit for 5 to 7 seconds at a time. And when the motor comes apart, you want all the pieces to stay inside the diaper, right, on the bottom half of the motor. That's the goal, is to not soak the track down with oil. then, you know, people get upset. My name's Steven with AMP EFI. Thanks for coming along with us and talking about our project vehicles today. If you'd like updates on them, you just let us know, and you know, we can give you updates on any of the projects we have going on at any time.